Well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank my guest, Todd Pratt, for coming on today's episode of the Gripe Session. Todd's a really good dude. And
It's Gripe Session time with your host, George Wanaka.
It's about nothing.
Discussing everything from real estate, current events, a little bit of everything, and the annoying little things that just tick you off.
You can't handle the truth.
What? You didn't know?
Here's your host, George
Your
Wanaka.
ass better call somebody!
what's up, everybody? How are we doing today? Welcome to today's edition of the Gripe Session podcast. And I know a lot of us are still at home and we're missing our sports, but have no fear. Georgie brought it for you today. I'm bringing you one of my coaches from Mets Fantasy Camp and somebody who I've gotten to know pretty well over the last few years, former New York Mets catcher, Todd Pratt. Todd was good enough to sit down while we started going through this pandemic that we're currently going through, to sit down, have a conversation about baseball, and yeah, we talked about some other things too. Hope you enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's edition of the Gripe Session podcast. And again, I told you on the last episode, we had another special guest coming on the next edition. And it is my pleasure to bring to you former New York Mets catcher and my coach, Todd Pratt. Todd, say what's up, brother.
Hey, George, man, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Hanging and banging, just trying to deal with all of this stuff, with lack of sports and no baseball, no basketball, no nothing, man. How are you holding up at this point?
Yeah, it's a tough time, some trials and tribulations for our country right now, and I wish the best for all of your listeners and all of the Americans out there. We're just living. I have a family of my wife and 4 kids and 2 college kids, and we're not quarantined down here in Georgia, but they're all at home. They just canceled school here in the state of Georgia. To be honest, I think they're learning more online than they were at school, so it might be a good thing.
Yeah, I hear that. That's one of the things. I got three of them in my house right now, and they literally take turns on the computer, who's doing what, and this, that, the other thing. So it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah. And they've done a great job here with the school systems here in Carrollton, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed that my kids go to a great public high school that check in weekly with our children and always have refreshing work for them. So, America's strong, and we're going to get through this. And it kind of makes it nice that we're at home and everybody's at home at one time, and we're making the best out of it.
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm doing nowadays. It's all I've been doing is, we're all going 100 miles an hour. Like I've told a couple of people today, I was on the phone with, I'm like, I'm not more special than anybody else, between, having the kids and dropping them off here, and we're all going 100 miles an hour. And then we see these things around our house that, like, you know what, I want to get that done. And it's just like, all right, I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to do it that week. And you keep putting it off. Now there's no excuse. So I've been doing a lot of, stuff around the house, getting rid of stuff, closets, and doing early spring cleaning, if you will. And hopefully
I'm on the same page with you, George. It's a lot of things that the honey to-do list, and you're just like, then you seem like you don't have enough time when this life is so busy, or how we make it, right?
Exactly.
But now being at home, you're like, and you start doing these household chores or fix-ups or to-do lists, and you're like, wow. Man. You realize you really do have the time if you put to it. You know what I mean?
Exactly right. It's
after I'm done, like, say, cleaning the blinds, for instance, you'd be like, man, it only took me this much time. I could, so.
Wait. Todd Pratt cleans blinds? Really?
Well, if I want dinner at night, I better, right? You know what I mean?
There you go. I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah, just don't tell the guys at fantasy camp, would you?
Hey, listen, they might listen to this and go, that could be on, that might be in the next kangaroo court now that I think about it.
Or,
So,
or when we all go down there,
yeah.
we'll be sipping tea and drinking, spritzes.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know
I'm
about,
gonna
yeah,
be fun.
I don't know about that, but okay, it's all good.
Well, me and you ain't, but
Yeah.
the Pratt Pack ain't. We're gonna be having that cooler in the dugout anyway. But I can't
Yeah.
wait to see some of the softies.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I hear that. So, anyways, so a lot of the listeners have heard about my experiences in fantasy camp, but we'll get to that a little bit later on.
Okay.
So you were initially drafted by the Phillies, is that right?
Oh no, the Red Sox.
The Red Sox. Okay.
I got drafted out of high school. I was the 6th round in 1985 for the Boston Red Sox.
Okay. And then you ended up. Did you get traded to Philly, or how'd that work out? Or was that
No,
a
I
free
just
agent?
my career. I mean, I was a prospect at a very young age with Boston. I had some injuries in the AA level for a couple years. I really became a suspect, and then God bless Butch Hobson. He was the AA manager my last year there, or in AA, and then was the AAA manager, and he brought me up, and I truly believe he's one of my top 4 or 5 coaches that truly believed in me and gave me a chance. Well, long story short, I did well in Pawtucket and became a 6-year free agent in the minor leagues. But I was still young, and actually signed a contract with the Orioles, a minor league contract that actually started paying me good, because we can talk about minor league salaries here in a minute. But and then the Phillies drafted me in the Rule 5 draft like 1 week later. So that's how I got to the Philadelphia Phillies.
And that's how you got to the Phillies. Okay.
And that was 1992.
Yep. Okay. And you played with, obviously, you went back to Philly. The second time you played for Philly, but you also played for the Cubs, obviously, the New York Mets, and finished with Atlanta. So how was it going back to the Phillies after you left?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, in 2001, we were off to a tough start at the Mets, and my elbow was bothering me, and I didn't really tell anybody while I was playing. But anyway, I think I was disappointed leaving the Mets, to be honest with you. But the good thing, if there was at that moment about that trade, I knew the folks. I knew Larry Beaugood. He was a coach when I first broke in '92, and John Vukovic, great man. I knew the staff, and I knew the organization, so it made it an easy transfer over there.
Talk about the business side of baseball. Once you get kind of ingrained in a town, and you kind of like, where you're at, what's that whole business level back? Like, I asked All Time about this on the last podcast, and he said, when you make your connections, it's definitely tough to leave, but you understand that it's a business. Can you go a little bit into that?
I just think it's the free market. It's what capitalism's all about. I mean, players want to stay, but sometimes there's disagreements and things said, maybe even years before, that when a player has a chance to go out in the market, some of those spikes or things that didn't really go right earlier affect that player's decision.
Yeah.
And then there's other decisions where the player does want to stay in the city, and we've seen it many times. But I love to, it just, then the money is just, the market doesn't allow that to happen, I guess. You've seen some players defer money. That's a really, helping out an organization and let players to stay in their city. But when it comes down to it, it's as a fan, I don't like it, but it's the dollar, and that's business, like you said.
Business 101 is, unfortunately, it is that business, but I know so many people have the connection with the fans, just like, using a recent example, like Wilmer Flores with the Mets a few years ago. Like, he became one of those fan favorites and never wanted to leave, but it comes down to a business decision. So that's why I always ask, I try to start asking that question to the guys. It's like, how does that, when you're that guy where everybody loves that guy, how does that, heart and soul, and then you got to go someplace else,
well, there's two, there's two ways to look at it, and it's the different personalities, either half glass empty or half glass half full. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you feel disappointed that that a team traded. Well, am I not good enough?
Yeah.
What's up? But then on the other side, the team that's trading for you wants you.
Yeah.
So it equals out. But there's the first few days, hours, whatever, it works on you a little bit.
Okay. What's your opinion of the current state of baseball? Obviously we don't have it right now. Where do you think that this game, or how do you think this game is going to, come back and flourish after this, pandemic that we're currently going in the midst of at this point?
Well, I think the game, though we hear many things of how it's evolving, changing due to analytics, it's the same game. It's 90 feet. It's see ball, hit ball, catch ball, throw ball. So I think when they talk about attendance, there's so much TV networks now. Teams own their own TV networks now. So, I mean, it's much easier to watch a game, less expensive. I think when we talk about attendance or where the game's at is pricing for a family of four to go to a game. It's too much. I could get it if it was an arena of 15 to 20,000, but we're talking stadiums of 40,000 people, 50,000 people. So I think that's one thing that's really changing is the fans can stay at home and watch a great game and watch replays.
What do you think? Go ahead.
No. But to get back to the original question and what the state of the game is great. They're all doing well. And they're still, and like I said, the game is still 60 feet 6 inches. It's the same. When we talk about hitting and offense, and then we talk about pitching, elevations. It's the same game. It just I wouldn't be surprised in 5 years now they're going back sinker balls instead of elevated pitches, kind of stuff like that,
Okay. What would your opinion be if part of the things that I keep hearing about, with not just necessarily baseball, but also with basketball, and some of the other sports is, and if they start playing games early enough, but doing it under empty arenas or empty stadiums, what's being somebody that's obviously played at that next level, what's your opinion on that? How would you feel if you were playing and they said, you know what, we're not playing in front of the fans and emotion? It kind of removes home field advantage at that point. What would be your take on that?
Most definitely, especially in the Northeast, especially the teams I've played for with Philadelphia and New York. Hey, if that's what that's what it has to be done, it is what it is. Is the excitement going to be there for the players? I hope so. I mean, I would hope so. I mean, I pretty much lived my career like I was playing the last day of my life anyway.
Yeah.
So I would hope so. the same measurement be made with the adrenaline and the live crowd? No, but it might be something good for the fans to be able to watch ball games that really meant something instead of watching repeats. These repeats are great. Don't get me wrong. I already know the outcome, so I mean it's cool, nostalgic, but it's not filling me up for baseball. You know what I mean?
Yep, I definitely feel that. And
the answer to your question, if they have to do it, they do it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I mean, that was my thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's home field advantage, I mean, it is what it is. At least then it would give, even if people are sitting at home and watching the game, at least it's giving them what they're looking for in a sport. You know.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. So we have kind of hinted once or twice along fantasy camp, which is where you and I met, and I've tried to explain to people, and every year, and this is obviously the second year that I've gone, I've tried to put it into words with people, and I always tell them all the time, there's just no words for the experience that you have at camp. And one of the things that I always tell people is, how down to earth the former players like yourself and all of the other guys, and I don't want to start naming 15 different names because then I'm doing somebody an injustice because I didn't name them. But talk to the listeners a little bit about what camp means to you guys. I mean, the former players, it's watching a bunch of scrubs like us try to play the game that you guys played, and did it so well for so many years.
Well, first of all, to talk about how Doug Dickey and the New York Mets run the camp. I think I've been there 8 years now, maybe. That number could be plus minus one. If you're ever fortunate, any listeners out there, if you're fortunate enough or blessed enough to be able to do this one time, if you're a big Met fan, I say go for it. You get treated like a big leaguer. You spend a week there. You go through what a big leaguer does. Probably not the same momentum, but you're out there all day, and the camaraderie, right, George? It's unbelievable.
God. The camaraderie, even nowadays, it's unbelievable.
Hey, and I never called anybody a scrub there. I mean, I don't.
No, you wait till we go home.
You could be 45 or you could be 85 there, and you're not a scrub because you're suiting up every day. God bless everybody.
Yeah, that's it.
But what an atmosphere, coming to the park every morning, eating breakfast with 120 guys, 10 or so different teams, suiting up, playing that game in the morning, eating lunch, talking smack, go back out there limping and play another one. And then the evening events are so outstanding, right, George?
1,000%.
I mean, it's a great. It's amazing how many players or guys throughout the 8 years I've been there. It's been their first time. And like, yeah, man, I scraped up everything. This is a one-time thing, and then the next year I see them. Somehow they saved their money and they got the discounts, and they're back. And they're like, I couldn't. So, like I said, if you love the Mets and you love baseball and you're blessed enough to be able to afford going down to Port St. Lucie for a week, I promise you, and I'm not trying to sell it, but I promise you it's a great time. The coaching staff treats every player great. There's no needs down there, right, George?
No. I mean, I started when I came the first time I did it.
Can I tell the story? Can I tell the story real quick? How I first met you?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Oh my God! So the first day, for all your listeners out there, the guys get ready, they stretch, and we have kind of a 2-hour clinics and practice per se. We usually finish about 11:30, 11:45. About lunchtime, we eat lunch and we have a draft after the lunch. Well, I walk in from our morning practices, and I look down the locker room hallway, which George is pretty close to me, and this guy's drinking a beer at 11:30 in the morning. And I look, I said, "What are you doing?" "What'd you say, George?"
Drinking a beer.
I said, "Well, I'm drafting you my first pick. That's the kind of players I need." And not to blow you up too much, George, but you were the MVP or weren't you the whole thing?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. Last year was the.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll
last
talk
year
about that
was.
season.
Last
But
year,
I knew they had to get the Brinks truck out for you for all the trophies you got. So
they're
it was just meant to be, I guess.
Listen, it was that first year. It was funny. I thought I was going to be one. This is something I want to do. It was one time I wanted to do it, and I'm like, a friend of mine did one with Detroit and said, "George, I know what kind of baseball fan you are. This is something you have to do." And I said, "Okay, fine." And I was going to wait until the kids got older and kind of do it that way. And then I went through this whole thing, and I finally said, "I'm doing it." And I sat back and I'm like, while I was sitting at the dinner last year, I'm saying, how do I figure out how do I do this again next year?
There you go. The same story.
That's it. And it was, the experience. What I told people last year, even coming into this year, and what I continue to tell people is, I sell for a living, obviously, but I can't sell the experience enough. Like last year, I came in, when you walk into the locker room and you see a uniform hanging up, I mean, it's just there's no feeling like it. We hadn't played a game my first year. It was just the first two days of practicing and being evaluated and batting practice and stuff like that. And I'm like, I felt like I already got my money's worth. I'm like, we didn't play a game yet. And then the rest of the time was just, I couldn't wait to get back there. And then again, there's always that preparation that I feel I have to do to, make sure that I can play the full time. So.
And the medical staff, the front office,
they're phenomenal.
Everybody treats you like a big leaguer, right, George?
No, 1,000%.
There's no needs. They have meals and events. It's a great thing. And if I was a fan, I would definitely do it. I always tell everybody, if I ever had an opportunity and didn't have the experience of playing baseball myself, I would love to. I have fun out there.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was going to ask you is, how do you guys love it? As being the guys that do that. I mean, again, the experience for us is great, and Doug Dickey, quite frankly, I think deserves a raise, because some of the job that he does is just phenomenal, keeping everybody intact and just doing everything just top notch, shoot to nuts.
Big time. But yeah, the fun factor, we have fun. I mean, you see some of those coaches, me, I'm more low key than disco balls and everything out there in our dugout. But a lot of the coaches they got some fire in them, boy, ragging the umpires, and ragging players and ragging each other. It just the competitiveness is there, and I love it so much. I stay there for 2 weeks, and I enjoy the friends and that I've met. All the Met fans, and have had relationships, and it keeps growing. I still talk to people or fans that came from 8 years ago. So it's just a great experience. And like you said, George, you really cannot sell it enough unless you're there.
No, it just can. And I could tell people, I'm like, anything. The one thing that one of the guys, so Chris Panza, he had previously told me that he went and he said, anything that I could do to tell you doesn't put it in the proper perspective. Like,
exactly.
It completely undersells it. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, and then I put the bar really high when that was said to me, and then it went above that bar, and I'm like, damn, like this is the real deal. So, but anyhow,
it definitely is.
Yep. So one of the things that I would kind of be remiss if you started to say some of the coaches, razz players. Really, I don't know if I've ever been razzed before. Possible. I don't remember. Maybe a game I might have been razzed in. I don't know. But we'll leave him to defend himself. Hopefully, I'm going to get him on a future podcast. If you want to know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know who I'm talking about?
I don't know. the player that got razzed?
No. The one who razzed me. There was a certain coach that razzed me a bunch of times, which I was laughing about.
That might be me, but
No, not you. No, I don't care if you. No, the game, the secondary game that we put, the game that we played.
Turk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Turk. Well, Turk rags everybody.
No, I know that.
He might be the best ball breaker of all.
Oh, and my locker was directly next to him, which was probably a bad combination at some point. I just don't know what point that would have been.
Oh God!
But yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
Turk's great guy. Yeah, Turk's great guy. He makes it fun, man.
Yeah.
Just don't believe anytime he says there's a meeting. Don't believe his kind.
Yeah, that's for those of you that don't get that. What happens is when you go to camp, Turk is always yelling 20 minutes into the 10, 20 minutes into the 10, and you look at your watch and go, the freaking meeting's not for 45 minutes. And he ends up doing this. He just tries to mess with people's heads. Says who's going to be late, who's not going to be late.
Oh, he gets more than a handful every year.
Oh, it's hysterical. You have people sitting in there go, what? Why are you in here for? Well, Turk said 20 minutes. It was like 40 minutes ago. I go, yeah, he does it to everybody. You didn't know that?
It's funny that those guys, those older gentlemen that are buck naked, and then you see them scrambling.
And
everything's flying around.
It's
I feel bad. I don't say a word to them, but I let it play out.
I know.
It's so funny.
And listen, my locker was a little bit different this year, though. This year, based on the first year, I guess they figured out we better put him closer to the beer right in front. So, which is what right next to Turk. So I'm like,
when you're the rookie of the year, MVP, Cy Young, everything, you get your locker up. It's kind of like spring training. If you get the number 97, you ain't gonna stay long too much. Every year you do better, you start getting a better number. It used to be the old saying, and I'm sure some of you folks have heard it. You show up and you're under 40. In the numerical roster, you might have a chance, but if you're in the 90s, you better get a good at bat and swing the bat.
Oh, geez, that's
save your meal money.
That's true. Although last year wasn't as good as the first year. First year brought me back. Now I want to come back for year 3 with a vengeance. So, but
I hear you.
We'll figure that out. But anyway, so I would be kind of remiss if I didn't talk about two of your, since this is I'm more of a Mets guy than the other ones, but although we do like to have conversations about baseball, the two things that you're most known about for the Mets.
Yeah.
What do you think those are? If most fans are out there,
come on, Knuckle. Hey, meat.
Well, it's not meat. It's Huckleberry. I thought we established this year. It's Huckleberry. My Huckleberry.
Well, I guess I'm more famous for the Grand Slam single, I guess, if famous is the word.
I don't know about that.
It may be infamous.
Infamous.
Yeah. That game right there, it's Game 5 of the Championship Series in 1999. We're at home. It's a somewhat dreary night other than the New York Mets are playing play-on baseball.
Yeah.
Bobby pinch hit me, I believe, with bases loaded. We're down by 1. I think it was McClinsky, or I forgot this pitcher's name. And I couldn't believe I pinched hit at that situation. I guess I was the last guy on the roster, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I walked on 4 straight fastballs, high, I believe. And I tied the game up, so my adrenaline's high, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we, as players, we're on first, listen to the first base coach. Robin's up. In my mind, I'm like, Robin's base hit Robin, and we win this game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it was misty, raining, just kind of like I said, a dreary night other than playoff baseball.
Yeah.
And, you know, Robin, don't you like how I'm setting up this excuse real quick?
I do. Actually, I noticed it. I'm just letting you go there. So
But
it's all
anyway,
good.
so I'm on first base doing my checks. Okay, line drive free, you know, whatever. You know, all I got to do in my mind, all I got to do is hit second base. If on a base hit, we win. Because, you know, the runs don't really count after that.
Yep.
So Robin, you know, we used to call him Helium Boy because his home runs were like high fly balls that just never came down. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like with Robin, it wasn't like a shot, but it was like you could tell like as soon as he hit it and it went way up, it was like, oh, that ball's gonna carry. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So that, you know, and Shea Stadium's huge in the gaps there, right center, right past the bullpen, you know, and in right field.
Mm-hmm.
So he hit the ball, and I read line drive. You know, I mean, it wasn't like a low liner, but I said, okay, it ain't going out. So I turned second base. You know, obviously the video shows. I waited for him. You know, he was waving his hand. I thought he was just, you know, giving the old fist pump. Well, he was telling me to keep on. but by the time that reached into Tank's head, I was grabbing his ass. You know?
I got it, man.
And I hold him up, and it probably was just not as dramatic as it should be for Robin. Deep in my heart, I feel bad for him, but at that point, I didn't care. We won the game. We were going. We still had more to do.
Yeah, but listen, it's still nowadays. It's still historic. It's still one of those moments that people never forget with the Grand Slam.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'll never forget it either because I was actually at the game with my wife, and we were underneath the overhang, and we were so glad that we were underneath the overhang because we weren't getting any of that misty stuff that was coming in. So
Yeah.
So I remember
Well,
that
I mean,
yesterday.
Well, I'm just glad I didn't get a hit on me. You know, the bookies, it kind of screwed everything up. A couple guys, you know, would tell me, hey, Tom, watch out the next game, you know. So, yeah, I don't think Vegas was happy with me either. So.
Yeah. So that's one thing, and that's the first one that you pulled. Unfortunately, though, you're not talking about the one that most Mets know you for, or most Mets fans know you for, which is that home run against the Diamondbacks.
Oh yeah, well that's what got us. Yeah, that's what got us there. And the only reason I was able to get the opportunity is because Mike was hurt. He jammed up his thumb in Game 1 a little bit, and they tried some treatments, and it just wasn't reacting good to it. And I had to play, Game 3 and Game 4. I actually he heard it in Game 2, and I think I played Game 3 and 4.
So one of the things that I had talked about all time yesterday, and that actually leads me into a better conversation, which is when you're in a pinch hitting type of a role, or potentially you're not the starter. What's your mentality, and how do you go about preparing for a situation like that?
I just, the daily repetitions, and mentally it's just you're the best. I would go out there even, I backed up my whole career. I backed up all-star catchers. So I just never got that break, but I never moped and never felt bad about my situation, because I still remember this day. One time I heard a few players kind of ragging, moping around. We're stretching. I'm like, hey, man, look at our office guys. I was doing like a stretch on my back. I'm like, just look up in the sky. How can anybody, and I didn't single anybody out, but this is when I was older a little bit. I was like, how can anybody feel bad for themselves right now? This is our office, grass in the stadium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to be prepared, as the original question was, this mentally, this guy, you're one of the 750 baseball players in the world that wish you were at that spot. Be ready. I always said, luck, there's no luck. It's preparation for the opportunity. Are you ready when you get that one chance? And, that day I was ready.
That's awesome. And I was gonna ask you, what would you tell any young person, what advice would you give them if, whether it's baseball, basketball, or whatever sport that they want to go into, what would be the best advice that you could possibly give them? I mean, I think you just did with what you just said, but
Yeah.
is there anything else that would add to something like that?
I just, I'm not saying accept failure, but learn from it. I think the hardest part, even when I was a kid, I teach kids nowadays. And this is the hardest part, is you're going to fail, not only in sports, but life at times. It's the better people are the ones that overcome the failure, learn from it, and don't make the same mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Repeated mistakes is what costs you, not only in athletics, but in life. You learn from it, stay positive. I think, I've seen a lot of great talent throughout my 25 years of professional baseball. Some players that I've played with in the major leagues maybe weren't as talented or tool-wise as talented, but mentally they were much stronger than that other player, and that's why they made it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of players, especially youth, are trying to set goals that are unrealistic. Just do your work, do your reps, and have fun playing the game. You'll learn. Don't try to be anybody else. And remember, it's a game. It's tough. It's tough to teach that. But the best players in the world, the people we love watching on TV, for 3 hours a night, they can focus and nothing matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, that would be the thing. Like when I talk to young kids, they'll get upset if they don't take a good swing or don't do that. I say, hey man, even major leaguers make mistakes every night, but they just don't show them on TV.
Mm-hmm.
ESPN ain't gonna make no money with top 10 lowlights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So every day there's mistakes, and we've seen it as fans. I'm sure. How can this guy make? Well, hey, we're human.
Listen, it happens, and
You've been on the field. You've been on the field, George.
Just throw me under the bus, man. Bus. Is that a bus or is that a train? What the hell is that?
I mean, if anybody knows that, you.
Here we go. And this is the other part of fantasy camp, ladies and gentlemen. What do you do?
I got lucky my first year. My second year, I asked for his contract back, folks.
I'm getting demoted on a new contract. That's unbelievable. I tell you what, I'm glad. Yeah, I know. I could tell. I could feel the love through the conversation.
Hey, folks out there, listen to this. We kill George Wanaka every day this year. But hey, George, I'm going to tell all your fans out there, what a chin up, though. You kept your chin up every day and wore it. For all that you got, you took it good like a champ. And in my book, you're a pro, brother.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So, but like I said, I appreciate all of the work you guys do down there. The pros, the staff, and Doug Dickey, who is the running of the show. Behind the scenes, that Doug doesn't get a lot of the credit. Obviously, the master or the mayor of our week, Eric Hillman, is another class act as well. But it's just, again, it's nothing but good times, and anybody that's ever played ball on any kind of a team knows the camaraderie and the ball breaking is, I like to say, and guess what? If you can give it, you better well be able to take it. So I know I can give it, and man, did I take it all right this year. So, which is all good as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
But anyhow, what would just because I know we've been going for at least a good 40 minutes. So, and you probably got a bunch of things going on, and I know I do. One of the things that I ask everybody on every single podcast is if Todd Pratt had to gripe about something just ticks Todd off, what would that, outside of drafting me for the second year and me not producing, what what would tick you off? What ticks Todd Pratt off the most?
About life or baseball?
It could be anything. It could be, the way somebody pulls into a parking lot, or stupid stuff that you see on an everyday basis. It could be anything you want.
The non-accountability, the blame game. That's what it ticks me off. I see right through it. There you go. Even with what's going on now, I just don't get it. But not the blame game. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it, and I see right through people as soon as I hear excuses.
Yeah. Non-accountability.
And own thyself,
True that. I always tell people nowadays, it's funny, everyone likes to win, but not everybody likes to lose. Listen, I don't think anybody likes to lose, but losing is only a bad thing if you don't learn from that loss. Like, if you don't take anything from it, that's when it's bad. Like, I look forward to losing, which sounds really stupid and Polish, because it is. But at the end of the day, I'm going to try to take something from it to try to get better, and just do it that way. So I hear exactly what you're saying from an accountability standpoint. At that 1,000%, doesn't make a difference.
Well, yeah, it got back into what I was talking about, like the best players in the world. They learn from their mistakes, and they don't make that mistake multiple times.
Exactly.
Once, twice, 3 times, question it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. 1,000%.
That's all.
1,000%.
Stay consistent in life and on the field. Stay consistent. That's what makes it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right, Todd, I want to thank you for coming on today's edition of the Gripe Session. We appreciate it. What are you doing with yourself nowadays? That's the one thing I didn't hit. What do you tell everybody what you're up to?
I'm just enjoying the life at home, and I'm actually I was in pro ball coaching for 3 years, and then I still have my 2 kids still at home, and this wasn't for 3 years. It was great. I loved it. But then reevaluating after the season, and my twins are still in high school. I just got a gig here that I was one of the board members of the Sun Belt League. It's a summer collegiate wood bat league that Major League Baseball partially sponsors. It's been established for 15 years now. And I used to be an owner of a team and a coach here before I went to the college and stuff like that. But I'm the commissioner, believe it or not. So I'm gonna bring you a ball this next spring at fantasy camp and give you one. My name's officially on the ball. How's that?
Nice.
So when I ball break, I'll actually give you a ball.
You'll give me a ball and say, just so you know, I'm the commissioner, bitch.
Yeah. So I'm doing that, and we're in that same situation for this summer with baseball. We don't know. We're planning on opening day June 1st. But, obviously local, state, and federal government will let us know when or if we can do that.
Okay. All right.
And so I was part of it. And when I came back, I talked to basically some of the board members and tell them what my plans were. And they immediately hired me to be the commissioner. So
nice.
I get to work from home and watch baseball and some collegiate prospects during the summer and put everything together. So
that's awesome.
So I still have my baseball stuff, but I get to sit at home and enjoy.
Awesome. All right. Well, Todd, we appreciate you coming on the podcast today. We'll obviously keep in touch with you during the course of the season, see how things are panning out. And once again, thanks for popping on.
Yeah, and I know it took us a little bit of time, George, and I appreciate you and your fans having me. And you know my number if baseball does get started and we want to do something, again. I'd love to help for you.
Awesome, appreciate you. All right, buddy, I appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother.
Well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank my guest, Todd Pratt, for coming on today's episode of the Gripe Session. Todd's a really good dude, and he's just one of the most down-to-earth people you've ever met before. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today. I hope you have a great day. If you found some value in this podcast, please do a brother a favor and give me a rate and review. Write a little review afterwards on the podcast. It really helps us out. And that being said, we will catch you on the next edition of the Gripe Session podcast. And remember, do something nice for somebody you wouldn't normally do. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Gripe Session. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.